Okay, we're going to try that one more time. How about that? It's Rosalind again. And you know what time it is. That means it's time for real talk now. Yes, yes. His eyes. His eyes wandered skyward, a toy always in his little hand. He fidgets and fiddles and hums through my voice. Mom says, honey, did you hear what I said? Mom, did you know that an octopus has 3 hearts? Images and thoughts wash over his little brain like a rogue wave. Sometimes they are slow, steady, barely cresting. Other times they pound his shore like a hurricane, throwing life around, off balance, churning and tossing. The moments like lost ships at sea. Mom, that's why they are so gentle. Mom says, your shoes, honey. You need your shoes. Yes, Mom, I heard you. He hums and looks away past me and this time into space. His thoughts are not on shoes, they are deep in the blue of the ocean with a beautiful, gentle, floating 8-armed creature. He has left my kitchen for another world, a beautiful place where he needs to be for a moment. And I am worried about shoes. Sometimes I want to ride the waves with him, wander and think about the octopus with him at my side, my guide, my beautiful boy. He journeys far and wide. I am always calling him back, but he's not ready to return for shoes or chores or math or even dinner. Mom, also an octopus can fall in love. So I lean down with creaking knees and with all the love I have, I ease his foot into my hand and put on his shoes because he is not done watching the octopus. Family, this is a beautiful poem by Andrea de Bagas describing the mind of a young boy that has ADHD, that beautiful mind. People that have ADHD, including myself, are often very creative people that thrive on exposing themselves and others to an array of life experiences with the goal of making the world a bigger and better place. Yes. Now, my guests tonight, I'm going to ask them to unmute themselves because I want them to paint for us just a little picture. And then we're going to go to some questions that my audience and I would like to ask. I want you to listen. I want you all to listen to this beautiful picture of a life thus far of a child that was raised and thrived through ADHD. That beautiful family are the Moody family, and they include Lee Sr. He's known as Moody, Brenda, and Lee Jr. We call him Frankie. What I want you all to do right now, I just want you to say hi to the family and just tell me a little before we go to those questions. What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I guess I'll go first. So of course you may have noticed that the book is called Raising Frankie. However, I was introduced as Lee Jr. And I have been going through years of apologizing for doing that to people, because that stems from a time of my life where I wasn't fully embracing when I was diagnosed with ADHD, when I was actually going through some of the struggles I had. And so what I did was, since I felt Frankie to be unacceptable, because I like to be good, I like to be right, I created Lee. And Lee was the person who would always be acceptable. He would always be right. He would always be correct. He would be perfect. He could always focus. In fact, whereas Frankie was the moody on duty, Lee was always Lee legendary, the grandmaster of blah, 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 clan of blah, 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 whatever he did. And for a time that worked out until I realized that Frankie, you can't escape Frankie, you know? And Frankie's not bad. ADHD is not bad. And I feel like what I did was I made ADHD into Frankie. And that's not the case. ADHD is something that Frankie carries with him, that I carry with me all the time, you know? And so I've actually learned over the years to reclaim Frankie, my name. So I have fully reclaimed my name. I am Frankie Lee Moody. If you call me any of these names, I will not be mad because that's who I am. And for this reason, though, I still owe the apology because now I've put people, especially the people I go to church with, those poor people, I'm so sorry. Because now when I'm told of that, they're saying, so what should we call you? Should we call you Lee? Should we call you Frankie? And then they do this thing. Well, I tell you what, because I can't decide, I'm gonna call you Brother Moody. And that's all my fault. But I digress to say that, look, like I have fully embraced, I have no problem with Frankie. Frankie, who I am, I'm cool with. It's good. So please don't get lost on Frankie or Lee or whatever name that you may see there. I will always be Frankie Lee Moody Jr.
Awesome.
And that's what I've got. And I know that's got to at some point have bothered kind of my dad, because my dad's name is also Frankie. And so you can imagine it's like, well, what's wrong with the name Frankie? And it probably felt like I was always trying to get rid of the name Frankie, you know? But I never meant it to be that too. So this is my personal apology to my dad too, because I didn't mean it for that reason. I let what others paint me as steal my identity. And here recently, I demanded I took it back.
Beautiful. Frankie, thank you.
Yes.
I told you that was going to be a hard one, so I'm glad that you embraced that name, because I think Frankie fits you beautifully. Okay. Mom, Dad, do you all want to add something before we dab into the questions?
Well, I just want to say that I guess it's always been my mission. It was like I was on a mission to at first to protect him from all of the things that he confronted, and I just wanted to protect him. But at the same time, I wanted to educate them and educate the public on how to deal with, because Frankie learned to deal with his diagnosis. Frankie learned to embrace, as you just heard, his diagnosis. And so, and that puts us in a really great place. And so, but at the same time, there are a lot of other Frankies out there that will probably go through some of these things. And we're hoping that, you know, with this program, we will be able to open the eyes of some of those who may cross paths of these students or parents or teachers or people who've been diagnosed with ADHD, and be confronted with someone who's not aware of how to deal with that diagnosis.
Awesome. And one thing too, the beauty about platforms like this is people can't always come on live, but we blast it all over the country so that people can be educated when someone has thrived through a condition like ADHD, myself included. Like I said, you know, I always put that out. Most people can tell I have ADHD before I even say it. I'm like Frankie, I have learned to embrace it. And, some people can take it, some people can't, but I am who I am.
Yeah.
Now, I want Dad to say something because, family, I'm going to let you all know, first of all, he's one of the chillest, coolest men that I have met. He is so in tune, though, when what's going on, but I can tell he just sits back and listens, takes it in, and then he says something profound. So, Dad, I want you to say something right now.
Well,
No pressure.
No pressure.
I guess it goes back to at a very early age, Frankie was always impressed by characters, like all kids are. And, kids oftentimes take on other identities, not to be ugly or create a problem, but they're just into what they're into. And I can remember that at one time we were at church, I believe, and his mother said, "This is Frankie," to someone. And he said, "No, I'm Mighty Mouse." And of course, it's sort of embarrassing to a parent sometimes to have something like that happen, because this is the time that you've sort of train your child to answer in a certain way. So when a small child, a young child comes across and says, "Hey, I'm Mighty Mouse," most adults understand that children will have characters that they love and they do want to take on that persona. Mm-hmm. And I told Frankie a long time ago about the name. I told him, whenever you get to the age where you can legally change it, whatever you want to change it to is fine with me. I'm not one of those people that I'm worried about that. I know that you would deal with it in your time and in your way. But if it's that important to you, a lot of famous people have changed their names. And I don't think they do it to be ugly or to get away or hurt anyone. They do it because that's what they believe they need to do. So that's never been a real concern for me that he wanted to be called Lee or Mighty Mouse or the Atomic Guy and Raphael and those people. It's never really been a concern for me.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And you can always see with you all that you all have, I can always see with you all that you all have a closeness in the family. And that's a beautiful thing. Okay. So let's talk a little more. Because what we want to do is paint a picture here. We want to paint a picture from college. And you know what? Actually, let's go back a little bit. We want to paint a picture, period, of Frankie's life, specifically focusing on the educational aspect of his life. Elementary school, junior high school, and then college. Beautiful. Okay. So I want to ask first, many children that have been diagnosed with ADHD or ADD are extremely intelligent. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I've had the opportunity to meet with Frankie in person. And yes, family, I can tell you that he's very intelligent. Okay. Now,
we know.
Now, how is your memory? Is your memory photogenic or photographic? I should say. I'm sorry. And can you remember things easily? And I take it you can because of the field that you're in. That requires extra knowledge. Tell me about that.
Okay, so for me, I don't have a photographic or even an eidetic memory. Most of my things that I can do, I've learned and I'm able to capitalize on patterns, right? I used to play the piano. Mom's still salty that I stopped playing piano. I can still do it a little bit though, because I remember how it feels to push the keys. Like I would remember the sound. I would watch I could tell you if I played the song wrong, not even from hearing it, but actually from playing it and feeling that it was wrong. But it was all a pattern. So now you fast forward to my career that I have now at a certain university, and I can look at a person's computer and just looking at it, I can say, this is out of place. This is out of place. This shouldn't be here. That update is missing. This right here is not supposed to be here. You didn't back up your files. And I don't know what that is, but it shouldn't be there. And it's because it's all a pattern that I've picked up. And so naturally also when people, when I've had to do on-the-job training, mentorship is the best, right? Because then you get to see what went into how they did it. Like, it's not like, hey, we handed you this pamphlet, go do it. No, you have to actually touch it. You have to experience it, which is great because I experienced the pattern. So right now, if you ask me to train somebody, I will be able to train them based on the pattern. For me, formulas and patterns are my bread and butter. Like if I haven't figured it out yet, it's because the pattern is just not a part of me just yet. But when I get that pattern, I can do it backwards, forwards. The person will pick up the phone and say, Mr. Moody, I can't log into the machine. And I'll be like, is the computer connected to the network? Yes. Obviously the computer's on. Did you switch over the user? No. Okay, you don't need to do that. Can you even get to the user screen? No. Push Control Alt Delete. Hey, it worked. It's like, yes, because I memorized the last 20 times I've done that. So I've memorized that. I'm to the point now where I think people might actually be a little worried about me, because when they run a scenario by me, when they're asking me for some tips or something like that, I stare off into space, and what I'm actually doing is I'm seeing the pattern unfold in front of me, and I'm walking myself down the tree of where it is I'm going. And so I'm like my own little imaginary Tony Stark, even when it comes to explaining something. So it'd be like, imagine that this person tells you to do something, and imagine that you can't do that. This is your realization, like this is your reality, this is your expectation, and they're not gonna meet in the middle. They're like my bow legs. They'll never ever meet each other, you know? And so likewise, I get to be like, so look at this pattern now. This is the expectation of the customer, and this is what you can provide. There are some times where you can meet in the middle. Not a lot of those times are going to be pleasant, you know, like when you can't, but make the best of the ones you can. And this is how you would solve this particular issue, but it's all based upon a pattern. Even if it is just to give my energy to somebody, fix their issue. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Even but one though thing you're saying it's just a pattern, that's very, family, did you all hear what he was saying? That's not, I did. That's the interact that I'm talking about. Because you were like way over my head. I'm like, but I understand what you're saying, because again, when you have ADHD, you have to learn your learning style to be successful. Mm-hmm. Yours is patterns. I have to learn through by doing. I'm an active learner. Some other one may be just a listener. They just have to listen intently. So if you can learn your type of learning style, you can be successful. Mm-hmm. And you have learned that, and I'm glad to hear that. Mom, you were getting ready to say something.
Well, when you asked that question, and Frankie talked about the plan, and it was amazing when the music teacher was saying that he's playing by ear. And I'm thinking that's what he's doing. But when Frankie says, Mom, I'm not playing by ear, I am actually mimicking. I watched the teacher's fingers. I watched the fingering, and then I look at it, and then I go back and repeat exactly what I saw the teacher fingers do. And it comes out beautiful music. It was amazing. It was amazing. So it wasn't playing by ear, but he was just looking at the fingering, and he reproduced the same sound that the music teacher wanted him to produce. And then one other incident, when he was a small child, it was some reason I was disciplining him, and I sent him to his room. I took the toy he was playing with. I had asked him to do something, and but he was so focused on something else. And I said, well, okay, let me have the toy. You go to your room for 5 minutes, and then it will be your time out. And so I didn't hear anything. It was too quiet. And when I went to his room, he had reproduced the toy that I had taken using rubber bands and pieces of pins and pieces of other toys, and reproduced that same toy. And he was in his room playing for Christmas. It was good behavior, so they wouldn't say, "Shut up, Frankie," to him. And so he went to the doctor that year, and he asked the doctor, said, "Well, Frankie, how are you doing?" And Frankie says, "My self-esteem is at an all-time low."
Wow.
And when he said that, he said to us, he said, "You all have done an excellent job raising him, but it's out of your hands now. I'm taking over.
Wow.
I'm taking over." And so he made a reference to a child psychiatrist, who was head of the division. I didn't even know that existed. But he said, "I'm going to go out and I'm going to train all the teachers on how to work with you, how to teach you in that classroom." And he did. So that was a turning point. It was a major turning point. And he worked with him.
But there's so much more in there that you're leaving out that I think would be good to.
Yeah, because what did you want me to add?
About
what did you want me to add?
About the psychiatrist himself.
Oh, yeah. Well, the psychiatrist was when we entered, when we got to the office, because I'm thinking, when they said psychiatrist, I said, my child doesn't need a psychiatrist. I'm thinking white coat, the couch, this type thing. But it wasn't just for Frankie, it was for the family. So the family was going to see a psychiatrist. And he worked with Frankie, he tested him. But more than anything, like I said, he went out to the school, he trained all the teachers on how to work with Frankie. And that was major, because that was a turning point right there for him in that school. And he blossomed, he did really well as a result. And the psychiatrist followed him from middle school through high school. When he aged out at 17, he continued to work with him, giving letters and everything to take with him when he goes to college. When he took the SAT, he made arrangements to make sure that everything was perfect, that he had just the 3 of them in the class, in the place for him to test was the administrator, the proctor. All of those things were put in place for him. And then when he entered college, those accommodations were in place for him. So he set it all the way up through so that Frank could be successful. Just nature.
I'm glad that you mentioned psychiatry, counseling, in that realm, because oftentimes, just what you just said, and let's admit, in our community sometimes, it's a taboo.
It is, but it shouldn't be. And the psychiatrist himself, he suffered from ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So he told the story about his teacher that helped him, which was, she had a way to redirect him, when he was going off the rails, so to speak. I think one of the things they used with Frankie was the teacher, when he was getting a little off base, she would just reach up and pull her ear.
Yeah,
and that was a signal that only he and the teacher knew what it meant.
Yeah.
So
that would refocus him.
Yeah, and the psychiatrist also said that he said something else about she taught him tricks. Tricks to use. I don't remember exactly what they were. I'm sure someone else here can remember that, but she taught him tricks to use to help himself when he did get out of focus.
So it helped him. The doctor like he said, was also suffering, and that third grade teacher turned it around for him. And it was in third grade that it was brought to the attention that his attention deficit was creating a focusing problem for him. So it seemed like the third grade was that magical year. But through the training, it taught him all those things, what the teacher taught the teacher how to refocus him, how to redirect him when he's off.
I later came off of Adderall in college. But when I had first, so imagine your entire life, people have been telling you, you need to focus, right? That sounds great, doesn't it? What does that mean? Like seriously, what does that mean? Because you're asking me to give you something. I have no concept of what it is. I've seen other people do it. I may have done it and not known what I was doing, but I don't fully grasp or understand the concept of focus. So when you say, Lee, pay attention and focus, I'm like, I don't have that to give. You see what I'm saying? But then you add Adderall into the equation and, I got focused. It was, for the first time, I understood what it was to really be able to focus. But I don't want to, it's weird to explain. Usually my attention, there's a saying that my focus is mapped to my periphery. Like anything in my peripheral vision has more importance than what's in front of me. That's usually what it would be, right? Mm-hmm. And so for the first time, what was in front of me was infinitely more important than the things surrounding me. Maybe not infinitely. That's a little embellishment, but I can see the things in front of me now. And so it was drastic because it was like I could actually, if I would normally have forgotten about what I was working on, my brain would leave and come back. It'd be like, yeah, but we're here now. It's like, oh, all right, cool. Which at first was great, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it. It was great to be able to focus. And then sometimes it was to my detriment because I had to learn how to manage using Adderall XR to help me focus. Because let's say, for example, I was thinking about shoes before I took my medicine, right? And so, to the average person, shoes is not a big deal, right? I don't really pay attention to shoes like that myself now, right? But I get to school, 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, 4 + 4 = shoes. That's not right. So let's go back to this math problem about how 6 × 6 = 36, 7 × 7 = shoes. Okay, something's clearly wrong here because I would have to have the purpose of mind of focusing on school before I took the medication so that I would be focused on school. Because, hear me when I say it, if I thought of anything, it didn't matter what it was. Mind you, I am a developing teenager. It didn't matter what it was. If I thought about it before that Adderall kicked in, it was all that was on my mind for the rest of that day.
I didn't know that.
Don't let your mind wander too far. But just saying, that's what it was like. And so I had to sit there. I would be like, okay, I'm going to class. I need to go ahead and get my work done. So long as I had that mindset before I took medicine, it was great. Because at one point, I was playing dodgeball, right? And it was right before medicine time. So I was like, all right, cool, dodgeball, let's go. And so the whole time they would throw the ball and I could count the seams of the ball approaching my face. And I would just move effortlessly out of the way because I was so focused that I would only be hit if I purposely intended to be hit. Like that was the only way it was going to happen. But the problem with that is that after the dodgeball game, I'm still fixated on, wow, I did great in that dodgeball game. Hey, you're supposed to get this stuff done. I know, but how about that dodgeball game though? It's like I could there's being excited about it, and there's not being able to think about anything else but a dodgeball game, right? Because most people, when you hear ADHD, you hear inattentiveness, you hear distraction, which is to lose traction, which means that traction would allow you to move forward in something. So if you're distracted, you can't move, right? So the problem here is now I've become hyper focused. And that's a lesser known thing that I've noticed that people don't talk about. Like when you're focused, even on ADHD, you, not on adderall, but literally with ADHD, if you're focused on something, good luck getting off of that. So now imagine Adderall magnifying your super, like that hyper focus. Mm-hmm. And good luck getting back on task. It's over for you. You'd be better off going to sleep or doing something else.
But I had a beautiful picture here. You really are.
Yeah.
You know, because you're right. Oftentimes they don't talk about the ultra focusedness. You
right.
know, I can remember those times that oftentimes you don't hear about that. You know,
I've never heard about it.
Yeah. Say it again.
I've never heard about that.
Yes. Yeah. You don't understand that part when they see that you are and they don't get it.
Right.
You know, because it takes work to focus on something. So once you get it, I'm there. Now I'm there. You're telling me I'm there now.
You can't change the play now.
You can't change it now. Exactly. So in college, how did that work though? Paint a picture of in college, because that's that last time just before and then go into your career.
Okay. So in college, a few things happened. Relationship wise, I had one of my harshest breakups. I was left for another girl, and that did not sit well for my ego, my self-esteem, or anything. I was still using Adderall, but Adderall, for me, I didn't realize it at first because, you know, I'm on this focus train. I've wanted focus my entire life. I finally got it. Ain't no stopping this train. It's great. But it also created anxiety. And so now it's like I'm anxious. It seems like to certain people, actually the woman I met after I broke up, that girl and I that I told you about broke up. She said, "You always look like you're nervous. Why are you always nervous?" And it's like, I don't know. It's just, maybe it's a side effect of the medicine. And so finally one day she talked to me, she's like, "So then why do you take it if it makes you feel that way?" And I was like, that's a good question. So at this point, it comes to the crossroads where it's like, do I want power at the cost of my peace of mind to focus? Or do I want to try to figure this out on my own and try to replicate the thing? Because, you know, technically focus is a pattern, honestly, you know. But at this point, it's like, as I think back, even in middle school, my heart used to pound really hard. Like I would lay on the bed, but the bed would shake. And I'm not doing anything. It's just that my heart is beating so hard that anything loose on the bed is shaking, like it's rocking. And I'm sitting still in my mind, but there's a whole earthquake going on around me. And so it's like, wow, that's not really good. And at one point I was on a heart medicine. I was on a heart medicine at one point, right? But that wasn't Ritalin. That was Adderall.
That was Adderall?
That was Adderall.
Okay.
Because I didn't know this at first either, but Adderall is actually a stimulant. Which confuses me, right? Because you want me to calm down, so you stimulate me more. I don't know how in that equation. Maybe if I have too much energy, I'll calm down because I can't handle it all. Maybe that's the plan. I don't know. But you know, it was awesome to be able to focus. It was awesome to be able to move through. And you know, if I wasn't walking on water before, I was surely walking on water then. But you know, my grades, part of the reason my grades dropped, was because of that relationship and because I was having to make decisions about Adderall. The other thing is because I sucked at part of my major that was critical for me succeeding, which is programming. I cannot program to save my life. So you can imagine I had 3 programming classes back to back. I had a tutor, I had classmates who were helping share notes and everything like that. Couldn't get it. Biology class, can't touch me. Zoology class, we don't talk about that class. No. But any other class, mathematics, I did better in math and English and science. way better than I did in programming, because me and programming, there is nothing in my mind that is remotely interested in sitting in front of that. In fact, I think I told my mom at one point, like, if I ever got a career, like a true career in computers, I would never program if I never had to. Like, absolutely not. Like, it, because college makes you think about that. When you look at your core classes, at first you're like, this is a waste of money. Why do I need to know about the cellular division and all this other stuff? You know? But then you come to realize these are other stuff that you can be interested in. And so don't knock these classes right away, because like I actually talked to one of the people, I never had a class under this instructor, but they were like, yeah, whenever we lose a computer science major, they come over to chemistry because they understand the formula so well. It just makes sense to them. And I was like, huh, that's very tempting. No, but but luckily I don't have to do much programming. But then at work, again, Adderall XR came through in the clutch because I was working at Pizza Hut. I don't want to say I was the number one employee, because that's really grandiose. That's really not humble. And I don't necessarily think I was the number one employee, but you wouldn't be able to tell, because I was folding 18 boxes a minute. And people were like, why do you fold boxes so fast? Because my assistant manager challenged me to a race and I was determined to beat her. But still, also because it kept me entertained, right? So there was a lot of stimulation in that job, and I had to find out how to keep myself stimulated, to keep myself focused, right? So in class, same thing. I was trying to find ways to keep myself stimulated so I would stay focused. Which in a math class, good luck. Calculus, not going, that, no. But especially in high involvement things, ADHD was actually not all that big of a problem. It was only when I had to sit there and be professional. Maybe that's the word, right? I'm not sure that is. So in a college setting, you're not allowed to do a lot of things, you know what I mean? Or at least you're told you're not allowed to. I was still under that doctrine that I should, stay in class, make sure you focus and stuff like that. And it was torture. even on Adderall, it was still torture, because clearly I didn't want to be there. But I did it because I wanted to succeed. And it took me a very long time, partially because I eventually came off of Adderall to graduate from both a technical college and a 4-year college. It took longer than I should have a doctor's degree by now. That's how long it took. And so, but I finally managed to pull through. But those days when I was on Adderall, they weren't the worst of days. Believe me, I was like a whole superhero. I really was. It feels like I'm talking in circles, but it was quite the ride. It was quite the experience. And then for me to then give up Adderall in the middle of my bachelor's degree, that I probably could have picked a better time, and yet for some reason I was all the happier. And so you remember how earlier I told you how, I created Lee to be the perfect version of Frankie. Well, Frankie in all his fury came out. And so you'll notice that, which is funny, because if I was to jump and tell you about my work life right now, you'll have people in the meeting and they'll be like, hello, my name is John so-and-so. I work with such and such a thing. Okay, next person, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Bob. And Bob, I like to build things, right? Then you get to me. Greetings and salutations. My name is Lee Moody, the Grandmaster of Chicken Biscuits and Gravy. And today I will be attending your meeting. How are you? Now, most of you would say in a professional meeting, I should be fired. Except the thing is that all our meetings are dead. So I literally bring the life to the meeting, which is great, right? Because there was a time in kindergarten and in school, right, where that was unacceptable. And now I make this joke all the time. I'm essentially paid to be me. And people love it. Like, people will request, we got this problem with the computer. Can we get Lee? It's like, who's Lee? Oh, you don't know? Lee is Lee Legendary, the chicken biscuits and gravy of whateversville. I don't know. Just send him, And so then I get to, do my little thing. And they were like, is there anything else so I can assist you with today? And they were like, Mr. Moody, you too much. You give me life. And the first time I heard that, I didn't think too much about it. I was like, how do I give you life? But it's like, apparently energy transfers, right? So amongst a whole bunch of dead people in the meeting, I'm sitting here like, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And everybody's like, I want to be alive too, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. My current manager actually said that if he could bottle up whatever it is that I'm on, right, then he would be a millionaire, a billionaire, because it's too good to pass up. But this is far after, right? I graduated from college in 2016, I think it was, when I finally got my bachelor's degree, right? And so ever since then, I've been I have fully embraced Frankie, right? So you can't tell me nothing. But you can try to tell me something. I'll be like, look, so I fought this long to get my identity back. You need to go sit down somewhere. You can either get on the train with me or you can get gone. This party train 24/7. So and what's interesting is that anytime I'm myself, everything works out fine. And to this day, I know I'm talking in circles, but to this day, I still don't understand why is it that when I'm myself now, it's okay. But any other time in my past, he's too talkative. He's too energetic. He's too all over the place. He ride in the back of his chair. My chair in my office is a couch.
I want to say something though. It could be because you have embraced Frankie. And people haven't, when you embrace who you are, it doesn't matter what they say. Maybe that's the change. Not so much that it's okay with them, but you are okay with it, and it don't matter what they say.
Yeah.
And those gems that you're seeing, I want you all to give me some final thoughts. And for parents now raising younger children, what can you leave them with? And I also want you to let us know how we can reach out to you and how we can purchase the powerful book that you all have written. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I would tell a parent, one of the things that I had to learn myself is that, is to be a good listener, to really listen to your child. And you're saying pay attention, but the parent needs to pay attention as well. You're asking your child to pay attention, but you need to pay attention to your child. And you need to really listen to what your child is saying and look at what it is your child is going through so that you could be there for your child. You will be your child's greatest advocate. And then work with those parameters and helping her or he through school, working with the teachers, knowing how to embrace and to work with those teachers and whoever it is that needs to be in the fold in order for your child to be successful.
Okay. What about you, Dad and Frankie?
I would say there have been times when I've had to pull Frankie to the side and say things to him like, when your mom is like this, all you do is you say, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and keep it moving. Because whatever, nothing else you say is going to help when she's this way. So I think it's I think it's good that when you have people that are in the tribe who will have an objective look at what's happening. And instead of making things worse, they try to come up with ways to make things better. You just have to, you have to work together. You have to be very considerate of each other's feelings. but at the same time, you still have to have that common goal that you're working toward. And sometimes you let things play out for now, but then later on, you might go back and redress them in a private setting so that you don't tear apart the team that you have put together.
That's good. Good advice. Okay.
Mhm.
So let us know how we can purchase the book. And also I know there's a hard copy. Is there a e-copy or electronic copy in the works?
Well, there is an electronic copy. It's available. And you can get it from all the major bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, even Walmart is offering it on their website. And a lot of other bookstores are offering it as well.
Great.
And that's the electronic copy?
The electronic as well. So it's easy to get. You could just pick up your phone and say, Raising Frankie by Brenda Moody, and it'll just pop up all the locations where it can be purchased.
That's awesome.
Now, that's the electronic copy you're talking about.
It's include electronic copy as well.
Okay. Do you all have any platforms that they can reach you out, like your email address? You want to leave that with them, Frankie?
Frank.
Facebook?
I can do that. So we do have a Facebook page, Raising Frankie. Still working on the finer details of how to get that fully set up, but it is there. You can communicate with us also through our email, which is moodyfamily1982@gmail.com. And there should also be a chat link on the Facebook page so that you will actually be able to chat to that email address as well.
Okay, family, you heard that. Now, if you all still would like to hear even more, you can also reach out to me, Rosalind Green Price, and Facebook, Roz Real Talk Now. You can reach out to me on YouTube, Real Talk Now Roz, or you can email me in him_forever@yahoo.com. And I can get the information to you if you all didn't get everything that they just mentioned. I want you all to stay right there. I'm going to play. We're going to dismiss, and then we're going to come right back. How about that?
Sounds
like a
great.
plan.